Hey solos! All right, so you are going to Magic Kingdom by yourself as a grown adult. What are the things that you should be doing or thinking about or planning during that day? Well, here's a little solo spoiler. Make sure you leave a lot of room for magic. Make sure you leave some room for rest, and make sure you also have a bit of a plan about what you want to prioritize. Hi everyone, I'm Samantha, and welcome to this new podcast, Solo Magic, the magic of going to Disney World solo. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about Magic Kingdom, some of the tips and tricks and information that you should know when you are planning your own day by yourself at Magic Kingdom, and I will intersperse some stories in there because apparently I can't help myself. Just a reminder that because this is a new podcast, it is extra important that people learn about it. So make sure you subscribe, please rate, please connect with me on Instagram, Disney_solo_magic, and please share around with others so that we can build this community of people going to Disney World solo and being able to share those experiences all together. All right, let's get into it. Now, like Magic Kingdom is your favorite park, right? Like my baseline assumption is that Magic Kingdom is your favorite park. Because like even if it isn't your favorite park, I assume that it is also your favorite park because like Magic Kingdom is the OG. It is the Disney OG. Like the 1971 version in Orlando, Florida is the second version. It's not the first version, but like the idea of Magic Kingdom is still the OG. So even if it isn't your actual favorite park, I assume that you have a little place, a large place in your heart for Magic Kingdom. And I know that when I'm going, like even if I'm just going for a couple days, I always am like, well, I have to go to Magic Kingdom. Like even if I'm just going for the Epcot Food Festival or to see a band, which is often why I'll do these like little quick trips, I always will need to go to Magic Kingdom because like that is why I am there. Right? So I assume that that might actually be the case for you as well. Also, I assume too, there's a lot of assumptions here. I assume too that if you are a parent potentially and you've been going to Magic Kingdom with your kids, there might be like extra layers of your memories of both like what Magic Kingdom would have been like for you as a kid, but also as an adult, corralling your children, making magic for them, maybe kind of hoping, wishing that someone will make that kind of magic for you too. So that's why I assume that people are, drawn to Magic Kingdom because of all these elements. And, when I've told friends like, oh yeah, I'm going back to Disney, they usually assume it's only Magic Kingdom, which it's not. But they also are like, oh, isn't that for kids? No, it's not. In fact, Magic Kingdom in Disneyland, like the whole idea of Magic Kingdom in Disneyland was when it opened in the 50s, was because Walt Disney would go to these amusement parks with his kids and there would be nothing for him to do as an adult. So he wanted to create a place for the kid in everyone, that there were things to do for adults, but also things to do where adults could be kids again. And this is why, like, remembering the origins of Disney World, of Magic Kingdom, was because Walt Disney wanted a place where adults could, like, unleash their inner child is like a core part of the whole idea of Magic Kingdom. So don't be embarrassed about going to Magic Kingdom, and don't be embarrassed that it is your favorite park, because I know it is your favorite park. All right, so before I get into the tips, I'm going to assume, oh my gosh, another assumption. I hope all my assumptions have not been offensive. I'm going to assume that if you're listening, you already know about things like Disney Genie Plus and lightning lanes and the extra pay fancy rides. Like, I'm going to assume you've heard those terms before. I'm not going to explain them more in this podcast episode. There's a lot of people that do it really well. I talk about DFB Guide and Mammoth Club a lot in this podcast, and so Definitely go check out Molly at Mammoth Club for some discussions about what Genie Plus is and how to use it and things like that. So I'll reference it, but I'm not going to do a whole tutorial. If you want me to do a full tutorial, like I could in a future episode, I guess, like a bonus episode, but I'd really be channeling Molly. It wouldn't be a lot of like new information. Although I guess I could do like a small reel or something showing how I use Disney Genie Plus during the day. But anyway, you can let me know on Instagram if that's something you'd be into. But let's get into the tips. So I have 5 tips. Some of them you've heard before, I'm sure, but some of them might be new to you. But what I hope is that whether or not the tip is new or not, that I'll be able to provide a little bit of context about how you can think about that tip when you are planning your solo trip. So tip number 1, recognize that you're not going to be able to like do everything. It's not like Magic Kingdom is so big that you couldn't do everything, but with all of the like other people, whether they're in lines or just kind of on the walkways in front of you, are going to hinder your ability to do the whole park in one day, regardless of what time of year. Like you probably will not be able to do the whole park, and you shouldn't actually expect that. That's not actually the tip. The tip is, because of that, make sure you prioritize what you want to do during your Magic Kingdom day. I would say don't prioritize more than like 4 or 5 things. Just keep that priority list under 4 or 5 things, because what you want to do is ensure that you are leaving room for a lot of magic. Now, before I get into like a little story that kind of talks about that, like I just want to go back to that idea about prioritizing what you want to do. So when you are traveling by yourself, spoiler alert, you get to do whatever you want to do, right? You get to be able to make those choices. And so take advantage of this notion that you are there by yourself and really, really honestly think to yourself, like, what do I want to do that day? And if what you want to do is go on the Small World ride like 10 times in a row, then like you do you, bibbity bobbity boo, like have fun with that. If what you really want to do is ensure that you do all of the fast rides at Magic Kingdom, then that's also great. If you just want to eat a turkey leg on Tom Sawyer's Island, then just do that. Like, don't feel any pressure to do Disney World or Magic Kingdom any specific way, because who is that pressure even from? Like, who would be pressuring you? Like, that pressure would just be in your head. And I mean, maybe you want to do a little bit of psychological work about who those voices in your head actually are. But like, don't worry about that pressure. You know, if I'm making a suggestion in this podcast, it is because I have really liked to do that thing, but I don't expect you to like the same things that I like. Like, no, you do you. So really prioritize what your ideal day at Magic Kingdom would be like, and then prioritize those no more than 4 or 5 items to make sure you get that done. And again, when you prioritize just those items, what you're doing is creating space in your day for magic to happen. And isn't that why we would go to Magic Kingdom anyway? Because it is a magical place where things can happen magically. I now have a cat on my desk, and I'm also watching a walkthrough of Cinderella's castle, which incidentally, I'm looking at the mosaic where Lucifer is. So I'm actually very much channeling some Lady Tremaine energy, but like not as an evil stepmother, like Lady Tremaine as like a nice stepmother. And actually, I saw this meme on Instagram that said that like Lady Tremaine, a nice version of Lady Tremaine, is essentially Adelaide Bonfamille from Aristocats. So if I find that meme, I'll make sure to put it on the stories this week. But anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm channeling right now. So let me tell you like a little story about this idea of prioritizing a couple things that are really important for you in order to ensure you do that. Like, that's why you're going to Disney. That's why you're going to Magic Kingdom by yourself, but also that allows room for magic. So I'm an annual pass holder, which means I have the privilege, the luxury of going to any of the parks whenever I'm in Florida, whenever I want, essentially. Like, yes, there are reservations, But because I go during the down period, I never have a difficulty getting the reservation for the park I want. So because I have like that privilege, that luxury to be able to go in and out, whenever I make a priority list of things to do in Magic Kingdom, I keep it really, really small because, especially because, like in this particular story, it was Labor Day weekend. It was very, very, very hot. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to last in the park more than an hour or two. So, my one thing I wanted to make sure that I did was try this new fancy drink at the Cheshire Cat Cafe, which is like by the Teacups ride. So that was all I wanted to do. I just wanted to like go in, go to that one location, and like that was my main priority. So I walk into the park and the Festival of Fantasy was playing. Sorry about that. Was coming around. And when I came as a kid and then when I came back as an adult with my boyfriend, I never prioritized parades. I don't know, like as a family, we never really did parades. So I've never really seen the Festival of Fantasy parade. And so I walk into the parade and I was like, this is amazing. This is so much fun. And I watched the whole parade go by. And then I walked up to the train station. The train had just reopened. So the train had been closed for a long time because they were moving it because of the Tron ride. They were building the Tron ride, so they had to move the train. So the train just reopened. I went, after watching the parade, I went up on the train, which again is not something that I did growing up as a kid. And I took the train all the way around the park, and it was so chill. It was shady. It was relaxing. It was really, really cool to see like different vantage points of the park, like from from the back way, but the back way that they created for you. We had to stop at one point because there was a turtle on the tracks and they had to call like a turtle specialist to remove it, which was so cute. And so like I was like, oh, look at Disney like taking care of its turtles. Like that's amazing. Do you know how they removed the turtle from the tracks? The turtle specialist picked the turtle up and moved it into the bushes. That was the sophisticated removal that we waited 10 minutes for. But you know what? Awesome. It was great. No complaints. 10 out of 10. So I took the train all the way around the park and it was just really great. And Tron had just kind of opened, so it was cool again to see Tron from that area. And then rather than get off and then walk to Cheshire Cat Cafe, I like took it another way around again and I got off at Storybook Circus, which isn't an area that I usually spend a lot of time in. And I saw Chip and Dale and there was like a bit of a line to meet them, but I like waved and they waved back and it was so sweet. And so now I'm walking through Storybook Circus in like places that I hadn't really seen or noticed before, which was really cool. And eventually I get to my drink location. I order this very nice cold, thankfully, slushy that had a crown on top, took a couple selfies. It was just so magical. It was just like the perfect 2 hours. Even though I wasn't planning on seeing the parade, I wasn't planning on taking the train, I wasn't planning on going to Storybook Circus, but I just kind of said, look, I just need to do this one thing when I'm here. Need is a little is a flexible term in this sense. I just really want to do this one thing when I'm there, which was to get this drink, and anything else is just bonus. And so the bonuses at Magic Kingdom are always really magical. So my tip is leave room for magic. And what that means is make sure you just prioritize the key things you want to do. Don't make a list longer than 4 or 5, and then just allow the day to unfold. In the episode in which I talked about the different types of restaurants, and I said, like, do research ahead of time so that you are able to choose the best food option for your taste preference and your price. I said, yeah, like you do need to do that research ahead of time. And my second tip is to remind you of that tip, to do some research ahead of time about the food options at Magic Kingdom so you get the best for your taste preferences and your budget. And also like the time that you have or want to spend. Magic Kingdom is not known for its food. I think it's like universally recognized that out of the four parks, it definitely has like the least quality options. Not that it's bad, it's just like the least quality options because like where are you gonna go? They've trapped you. Eat this food. Although they actually haven't trapped you, and I will get into that in a second. But like, where are you gonna go, right? So they have very much like amusement park food. And if you don't do your research ahead of time, and this is actually kind of easy because you can do it through the app and just like look just at the dining in Magic Kingdom and then start, clicking around to see some options. If you don't do your research ahead of time, then you might wind up like eating somewhere that's fine, but might not be the best for you and your taste preferences. So like a few years ago, I sent my friend a list of vegetarian options to eat at the parks in Magic Kingdom, and she had gone there like a few months before, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't even think to look this up, and we just wound up eating fries all day because we didn't know what was vegetarian and what wasn't." And so a little bit of research, you actually have a lot of options available to you. And like, it's fine if you want to get a burger at like the Tomorrowland restaurant. Oh gosh, what is it called again? You can fill in the blank. Like, it's fine if that's what you want to do. But at the Columbia Harbor House, which I may have talked about on this podcast before, at the Columbia Harbor House, they have a lobster roll for almost a similar price range. So yeah, for me, I'm going for a lobster roll. Before the lobster roll, they also had this vegetarian sandwich, which was the best vegetarian sandwich I've ever had. It was like hummus, a broccoli slaw, tomato. Oh my God, it was so good. And then Breed Love, who's from All Ears, one of the bloggers on All Ears, and he's vegetarian. I had mentioned that in a comment, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not there anymore. They don't have that option anymore." And I was really bummed. But they did have a lobster roll, so that made up for it. But also things like the snacks, right? Like that slushy that I wanted to try. Those are things that are kind of cool to find in your day. And so do that little bit of research ahead of time so you know where you want to eat. Just a reminder that there are some like full sit-down restaurants at Magic Kingdom that you can eat at. Cinderella's Royal Table and Be Our Guest are hard reservations. Cinderella's Royal Table is a very, very hard reservation to get. Be Our Guest doesn't seem to be quite as hard of a reservation to get anymore, but both of those restaurants are prefix. The price is fixed, which means that there's one price and you get an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. I've actually never eaten at Be Our Guest for lunch or dinner because I just find like the food is going to be too heavy. And I don't want to like eat that much food when I'm at Magic Kingdom. I want to stay agile for the crowds. I want to stay agile to be able to like go on Haunted Mansion if the line goes away, So I don't know. For me, like a big thing of meat is just too much, but there are those options if you want to have like a fancy dinner. Then there are reservations for restaurants like the Plaza Restaurant, Tony's Town Square Italian Restaurant, which I've never eaten at, the Skipper's Canteen, which I've eaten at a few times. They have this giant like deep fried fish, which is super cool. Those reservations are during the down periods, quite easy to get. You can even do a walk up. But if you think that you might want to have kind of a sit down meal because you want to rest, then book one of those restaurants ahead of time. Do your research to figure out which one would be best for you. Book one of those restaurants ahead of time, and then you can always change it or cancel it the day of. Here's another thing about those reservations. If you're looking for a reservation for one, sometimes you'll have a difficulty finding it because it's just a computer. Like, it has so many spots for one. But if you are one, you will be sitting at a table for two, right? So just look for a reservation for two. A lot more will open up for you. Don't worry. And when you get there, you can just be like, "Oh, it's only one." And they're like, "Okay, no problem." They will, I promise you, they will not look at you and say, "Oh, only one? Are you a loser?" No, they will definitely not do that. Don't worry. I do it all the time. It's not a big deal. And you're also not taking away a spot from another person because as a solo person, you are sitting at a table for two anyway, you know? The only exception to that is Cinderella's Royal Table, and that's because you have to prepay. So you can make a reservation for two in the app and then call them and modify the reservation to one. You can also just call them and make a reservation for one, but if you're like, finagling on the app and you see a reservation, get it, and then just call them and make that modification. It's not a big deal. Speaking of reservations, just really quickly, when I said that they've trapped you at Magic Kingdom, like where else are you going to go? Well, actually, you can go to the Contemporary Resort. You can go to the Grand Floridian, the Polynesian. You can take a boat over to Wilderness Lodge. I mean, you could take a bus over to Animal Kingdom Lodge too. Like you can leave the park at lunch, go have a nice lunch at a hotel, and then come back to the park. Like if you don't have Park Hopper, that's fine. It's still the same entry to the park. So that is actually an option too. And if you are at a hotel, like maybe there's a lobby where you want to sit in a very comfortable chair. Because, and that leads me to tip number 3, find places and spaces and times to relax. Now, I don't know if it is just because I am an elder millennial or because Florida heat is something else, but like, I definitely want to take a break during the day. If I'm going to be at Magic Kingdom for multiple hours, I definitely want to take a break. And you might want to take a break too. Maybe it's not because you are an elder millennial or older. Maybe it's just because, maybe because of the heat, but maybe because, and this is important actually for everyone, because you want to take a moment and think to yourself, oh my God, I am at Magic Kingdom by myself, and this is awesome. Like consolidating all of that experience together so you can like really think about and revel in and appreciate the fact that you are doing this solo trip and what this means. That's really special. And so even if your body doesn't need to take a break, one of the reasons why you're solo traveling is to like connect with yourself, right? And maybe do some self-discovery and create space in your day for that. And I think that Magic Kingdom, more than the other parks, really encourages you or provides a desire to be able to do that, right? It really provides an opportunity. Oh, no, see, I don't want to suggest that Magic Kingdom like creates these spaces for you to relax. Actually, it's the opposite. What I want to say is like Magic Kingdom is the type of place in which you really should find time to appreciate where you are and what you're doing and how awesome it is. So I really encourage you to take some time and space and find a place that allows you just to do that consolidation. And it doesn't need to be all day. It can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes while you're drinking a coffee or a fancy slushie or eating fries, but find those kind of quiet places. So I have found some quiet places to do that. One of them is the balcony of the Pinocchio restaurant. It's like Pinocchio something Haas. I can't believe I can't remember its name. I've never actually eaten there, but there is a second floor balcony that faces the carousel that is almost always empty, and it is just such a chill place to go and sit and people watch and stay out of the sun and just really enjoy yourself, like enjoy a moment of quiet-ish at Magic Kingdom. Now, maybe you can get through a whole Magic Kingdom day without taking a break. And if you can, kudos to you. But if you know you won't be able to like make the whole day from rope drop to fireworks, then another thing you should consider, which is tip number 4, is to consider the time of day that you're going. So if you really want to ride those big rides and you're also worried about the heat, then going first thing in the morning during rope drop is a really great option for you. A reminder that kind of midday, like around 2 or 3 o'clock, a lot of times families will leave the parks to make sure the kids have a little bit of nap or a little bit of a swim before they come back for the fireworks. So there's a bit of a down period as well. And then there's the evening. And especially if the park is open after the fireworks, the park is pretty empty at that time. So when you think about what your priorities are, where you want to eat, where you might want to relax, or like how much relaxing you need, think about then how that aligns with the time of day that you go. And so I usually go to Magic Kingdom for like an hour or so during the day. I have one or two things that I want to do. None of those are actually rides. And then I come back in the evening and I do all the rides that I want, which are like Pirates of the Caribbean, Jungle Cruise, Haunted Mansion, It's a Small World, maybe Peter Pan, Winnie the Pooh, Little Mermaid, and sometimes I'll do Snow White, but the lines are usually too long for me. But why can I do all those rides at the same time? Because I get Genie Plus and I stack my lightning lanes all day. And this is such a key element of this whole plan is the stacking of the lightning lanes. So usually you can't book more than one lightning lane unless you've used that first lightning lane that you've booked, you've canceled it, or it has actually expired and you never used it. But then the other option is if 2 hours have passed from the time that you booked it. So if you wake up at 7 in the morning, you book your first lightning lane, then at 9 a.m., you can book your second lightning lane. Then at 11 a.m., you can book your third lightning lane. But I am booking all of those times for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m. And so when I walk into the park at 6 p.m., I have a literal schedule of all the rides I want to do, and I can just go from one to the other. Now, that doesn't mean that like at 7 in the morning, I get the time period that I want. Sometimes I'll have to modify it during the day to get a later time. But what I'm doing is I'm stacking them so that I can go for a set period of time, always at night, and be able to do one after another after another. And again, like as a person by myself, I can go whatever time I want. I am not a morning person. There's no way I want to wake up earlier than my body wants when I'm on vacation. And so it's actually the perfect solution for me. So I get to see Magic Kingdom during the day. I get to enjoy it, but I don't worry about the rides. If one of the rides I want to go on has no line, I will do that ride. I just won't use the lightning lane, but then I'll come back and I'll have it feels like a VIP treatment of doing all the rides I want in the order that I want. All right, so those are 4 tips. Now, I did say there would be 5 tips, and that 5th tip actually comes back to what I was talking about earlier, or at the beginning of the episode, when I talked about Magic Kingdom being magic and like being there to appreciate and revel in the magic of Magic Kingdom. And so tip number 5 is see characters. Go and see characters. And whether that is through waiting in line to see Mickey or Minnie, whether that is through a character dining experience, through checking the app to see where there might be pop-up characters like Chip and Dale, or whether that is through watching a parade, make sure you see some characters, because that is what Magic Kingdom is about. That's why you're there. Make sure you have that interaction. And again, if you are uncomfortable, like doing a character meet and greet, that's totally cool. I get that. Although that will definitely be an episode in the future of talking about the potential awkwardness of that and how actually it's not awkward at all. But if you don't want to do that yet, because you will do it, then make sure you go see a parade and just see those characters and wave at them and like have a wonderful, wonderful time. One time I was there. This is one of the trips actually that my mother and I did together. Walking down Main Street, we were trying to get to Adventureland, so we weren't like trying to watch the parade, but the parade was passing us, and so I just kind of stopped walking. I looked at the parade and I was like waving because all the princesses are waving at you, and this like one princess, I think it was Tiana, like instead of making eye contact with me, she made eye contact with the child in front of me, which is great and appropriate, obviously. And I turned around and my mom was like, "Don't pout, they're children." And I was like, "Right, yeah, that's cool." But like the opportunity to just like wave at these characters, it's just so funny because it definitely like brings you to a place where you're like, "Oh yeah, please make eye contact and wave at me." So rather than shy away from those experiences because you think it might be corny or immature or people are looking at you, just be like, "Yeah, that's what I'm here for. That is what I'm here for." And again, all of the cast members, whether they're in costume or not, have seen a lot of different things. They are not looking at you and judging you. They want you to have a wonderful time. Everyone is there for you to have a wonderful time. So just have a wonderful, wonderful time at Magic Kingdom by yourself. And hopefully these 5 tips will help you plan a wonderful day for you. So just again, the tips are: make sure you prioritize a few things, no more than 5 that you definitely want to do. Make sure you find time to like relax and kind of consolidate and celebrate the fact that you're at Magic Kingdom by yourself. Do your research about food ahead of time so you get kind of the best thing for what you want to pay. Consider the time of day and how that might affect the things you want to do and the ease in which you can do them. And the 5th one is see characters. And seeing characters is really just like, also make room for magic. I mean, really, this whole podcast episode is really just like, make room for magic. That's not a real song, but I mean, we can create one, right? Oh, okay. Well, this was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun because I got to like think back to all my Magic Kingdom experiences. And like I said, I'm also watching some videos of walkthrough while I'm doing this because I want to like get into the mood. And I'm heading to Disney Solo coming up, not too far away. So again, I'm like thinking about what my priorities are for when I am there. Now, this is the first in a series in which I'm going to talk about all of the parks and some other like tips and tricks and information and some stories about traveling to those parks by yourself. Because Epcot, I think, is like my practically favorite one. I solicited help because I didn't know quite how to consolidate those experiences. I solicited help from people on Instagram. And then Hollywood Studios is like my least favorite park. And so I also solicited help from people on Facebook in the solo group travel group that I belong to. And I should just say, like, that is such a fun group. Please make sure you go and add to it, include yourself in it, because it's a really like it's the highlight of my social media landscape. And the people on that group provided me with some really great suggestions, and I'm excited to like share them a bit. And then I'm doing Animal Kingdom, which is another one of my favorite parks. So just if you're keeping track, my favorite parks are Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom. And I'm not ranking them more than that. Those are my favorite parks, unranked. Although I guess like how I started this episode, Magic Kingdom is a little bit higher than that. Then after the Animal Kingdom one, I'm going to move to Disney Springs, and then we'll be almost in June. Amazing, summertime. And I'm hoping in June we can do some programming with you. So again, please make sure you connect with me on Instagram, Disney_solo_magic. And it would be really, really wonderful to start having more guests on the show to talk about their solo experience, to ask and answer questions, all of that stuff. I'm really, really excited. Through July and August, I'm going to do a series talking about all the individual value and moderate resorts and things to kind of think about in those different resorts if you're a solo person staying at them. I did do an overview of all the hotels, but this is like more specific about all the individual hotels. So I'm looking forward to that. I love hotels. I love a good hotel. But I won't be covering the deluxe resorts because I've never been. It's totally cool. So if you want to take me, I'll do like 5 podcast episodes on that one trip. That's totally fine. I won't be covering the deluxe resorts, but potentially in the future I will be. All right, well, I'll talk to you next week. This has been so much fun. It's really great to connect with you all on the different social media platforms. And let's just keep this conversation going. Bye, everyone.